undoubtedly apex aquatic predators. We're no match for sharks in their natural habitat, and these 10 worst shark attacks ever recorded serve to remind us just how impressive these oceanic predators really are. Before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can keep up to date with all our latest and most exciting content. Randy Fry. Randy Fry was out with a friend on a diving trip not too far off the coast of Mendocino, California, back in 2004, when his life was forever changed in an instant. The pair were enjoying their time below the waves when their day out turned into a nightmare. They ended up face to face with a very aggressive great white shark that was intent on taking a big bite out of the two swimmers. It wasted no time swimming right up to them, attacking Fry without missing a beat. His friend, Cliff Zimmerman, took off at that point, struggling to see where he was, going through all the blood that had suddenly filled the water around him. He later said that he heard a strange whooshing sound as the shark approached to attack the men, and before he knew it, he was swimming in a red-tinted sea. Zimmerman managed to swim to safety, reaching the shore before realizing that Fry hadn't made it out alive. He called 911 to report the attack, and the rescue team that was sent out to look for Fry's body managed to recover it the next day, and the autopsy revealed that the shark had managed to bite his head clean off his shoulders. The coroner came to the conclusion that it was a great white that had attacked the pair of unlucky swimmers by measuring and studying the bite marks. Terry Manuel. Terry Manuel was a massive fan of diving and had spent most of his life diving in all sorts of exotic locations. His love of scuba ended up causing him to lose his life in 1974 when he was out diving with a friend of his in southern Australia. They weren't too far off the coast when they hopped into the water and began swimming around underneath the waves. Their happy day out was cut short, however, when Manuel and his friend Talbot noticed something very large approaching them at an impressive clip. They couldn't make out the shape until it got close enough to strike, with Talbot realizing too late that he was staring down a massive great white shark. The shark latched onto Manuel and tried to swim away with him, but Talbot was able to free his friend from the shark's jaws. Talbot also managed to scare the shark off after its attack, giving him enough time to try to get Manuel to safety. Unfortunately, the shark had been moving very quickly when he attacked Manuel, moving at an estimated 25 miles per hour. The injuries he sustained when he was hit by the shark, along with the bite wounds he received, were too much for him to recover from, and he bled out before he was able to get back to shore. David Lilienfeld. A young man with his entire life ahead of him, David Lilienfeld was fatally attacked by a shark when he was on a trip at the age of 20 years old. He had traveled to South Africa with a group of fellow surfers and was busy enjoying epic conditions at Coal Bay, which is a bit of a surfing and bodyboarding hotspot. Lilienfeld was messing around on a bodyboard while everyone else chilled out in the water around him, when all of a sudden he let out a terrifying scream before disappearing under the waves. The rest of the group immediately tried to help Lilienfeld and get out of the water themselves. The shark had grabbed him by his right leg and was busy shaking him back and forth viciously during the entire attack. It finally let him go, allowing rescuers to pull him onto the rocks and administer first aid. These efforts were futile, and the shark had already done too much damage to save Lilienfeld's life. The shark then continued to swim back and forth just off the rocks in a very aggressive manner for around a half hour before it finally swam off and disappeared before it could be captured and killed. Todd Endress. Another lifelong fan of the ocean who ended up being caught in a nightmare shark attack is Todd Endress, who, unlike the first few victims, managed to survive his ordeal and lived to tell people about his attack. Things probably wouldn't have ended quite so well if he hadn't been saved by a group of dolphins who managed to fight off the 15-foot great white shark that had attacked him. This all went down back in 2007 at Monterey Bay's Marina State Beach, and there was no prior warning before the shark grabbed a hold of him and tried to do him in. Only a few seconds after the attack began, a pod of dolphins that was seemingly swimming by at the right time stepped in and began beating the shark back, giving Endress just enough time to make it to shore before the shark circled around for another attack. Endress ended up being torn apart in no small way, requiring 500 stitches and 200 staples just to patch up the massive wound that the shark had left in his side and across his back. Endress then went on the road, recounting his story to plenty of news outlets, and even having a segment on the Discovery Channel, thanks to his
I've
call
done that roll.
one of nature's
I've got to
most
add the other one
fearsome
bit in, but I need a
predators.
saw to saw a bit of the
Endress
cardboard
did
off.
finally succumb
Oh,
to
whatever
injuries.
it's called,
He
yeah.
received
Then
an
it's a bit too
operation
big, so I've
in
got to get a saw from somewhere. I think Grandad's got one.
Mick